Hi everyone, Sego, Skanaga. My name is January Rogers and I'm Mohawk Tuscarora, living on my home territory of Six Nations of the Grand River. And this is my home. I'm coming to you from my home where I own and operate Ojisto Publishing. So I am a writer, but I'm also helping others from this territory to become published writers themselves. And that in itself has been a really, really rewarding journey. I'm very honored to be presenting with the ANDPVA signature event series today. And what I plan to present to you is readings from all 7 of my books. So I have come up as a poet, a page poet, a spoken word poet, someone who has lifted the words from the page to perform the poetry and also work the poetry into media pieces. And I'm proud to say that some of those media pieces have gone on to win awards at national film festivals in the United States. So that's proven to be a very successful practice for me. And I hope that that will inspire others to think about working their poetry into other expressive forms such as that. So to begin, I have the book here, Splitting the Heart. And this was my very first published book. But I'll tell you, before I even had the book published, I had what they call these days a compact disc. Yes, young people. That is that circular thing you see on the screen there is called a compact disc or a CD. And we would play these on devices that where you could fit them in. But this CD I had produced because I work in audio poetry as well. So back in the day, I had created 10 audio pieces that have made up the collection here from Splitting the Heart. And so when I approached a publisher, my very first publisher, I said, I have this audio offering that could live as a companion with the print book. And that was something that did help sell the idea of putting my work into print. And just for those first time poets who are looking to get published, you can cold call publishers. That's fine. That's one way to go about it. But something that I found is that I was participating in a lot of literary events. I was always at the literary events. And this was back when I was living as a guest on Coast Salish territory in Victoria, British Columbia. It's a very active literary community out there. And that's really where I learned how to be a writer. But when you are out and about in all of those communities, you begin to learn that you're actually in and amongst people who publish. And I did do the cold calling. I sent out my manuscripts by post with my introductory letters and, all of those things that one does or used to do as a writer. And didn't get a whole lot of response in that way. And then I realized I know publishers. I know people in the Coast Salish territories known as Victoria, BC, who actually are publishers. And I simply approached them. And I said, you know me, I know you. I have this recording. What do you think about publishing my work? And they said, yeah. And that's exactly how I got my first publishing deal, Splitting the Heart. And the title of this actually came from working with one of my great literary mentors, Richard Van Camp. And hopefully you know that name because he is a author of note who works in fiction, but what an amazing mentor he is too. And when you mentor with Richard Van Camp, you have a mentor for life, and he means it. Very, very honest, very authentic mentor to have, and very knowledgeable. So Splitting the Heart, it was like he had come up with this term in terms of the work coming from a very, very sacred, meaningful place in one's self. And it's almost like when the baby is being formed, the heart splits into the 4 chambers, and So that's being this very first literary offering, published that is. Um, I thought that was a great term to use. Um, Inside this collection, I have a piece that I often pull out when National Indigenous Day comes around. I can't remember what it used to be called, in National Aboriginal Day or whatever. But I would pull this piece out because it just talks so much about identity, and it's a little bit of a fun poem too. Being Indian. Being Indian takes more than having a status card stuffed in your wallet. It takes jabs to the heart, in the face too, once or twice. It takes brown skin so the white race can judge you. It takes a strong spirit born of humility and the ability to withstand more of the same. It takes love of community, to feel blessed when surrounded by your people, to be part of your survivor race. It takes a sense of responsibility to the brown youth, to instill pride, stand as an example while you look to your elders as a measure of your path. It takes poverty in the pocket to use that ingenuity. It takes stories, lots and lots and lots of stories. It takes rough skin and bad breath. It takes scars and blood. It takes knowing your songs, old songs, sung in your language with drums and rattles and dancers moving in clockwise and counterclockwise circles. Can you see it? It takes belly laughs and dry humor. It takes that innate bingo gene we've all played at least once. It takes animals visiting your dreams, speaking to your spirit, silent messages of encouragement or warning. It takes gratitude of everything, every day. I'm not even kidding. It takes alcoholism and abuses of every kind, racial abuse, sexual abuse, and most importantly, self-abuse. Being Indian takes more. It takes hate. It takes growing out of that hate into calm, stoic acceptance. It takes beautiful eyes, pitch black beads. It takes more than sporting jewelry dangling obvious around your neck. It takes stomachs lined with grease and flour, empty of foods that feed our bodies. Being Indian is more than a word. It's a way of life. I think like an Indian. He walks like an Indian. We breed like Indians because we like sex. We're good at it. It takes fatherless children whose knowledge of their fathers, is sketchy at best. It takes a wise Indian to refuse pedestals and to choose your battles carefully. Being Indian takes more. It takes millions of staff to keep us in count. Had enough? Too bad. Being Indian takes getting in your face and staying there until more Indians come or the cops arrive, usually in that order. It takes teardrops as big and as many to fill the Grand Canyon. Being Indian is a full-time job. There's no such thing as a weekend Indian. It takes forms and records. It takes checks and grants. It takes turning those grants into beautiful Indian art that lives in museums as tangible evidence of our hard-earned existence. It takes gatherings and powwows, feasts and potlatches. It takes going home. Being Indian takes more. Being Indian means being Indian. Not First Nations, Aboriginal, or Indigenous. There's a difference. Being Indian takes lies and truth and instincts as strong as steel to know the difference. Being Indian takes anger and adoption. It takes removal and memories, loss of memories. It takes denial. Denial of identity as you pass a long-haired brother begging you for change on the street and you think, that's not me. Guess again. Being Indian takes literacy, the ability to read clouds and signals of smoke, dissemination of belts in beads, invitations of wampum. It takes all my relations without hesitation to answer the call. Being Indian takes more. That's all. Thank you. And just to let you know that I had my first book published in 2007. Um, yeah. Ecstasius Editions is the publisher that I had approached. And yeah, the people who run Ecstasius Editions are still out there. They're still publishing books as far as I know. And they did me a great service by having my first collection of poems put into print. So that was Splitting the Heart. Next, I went ahead and I published a collection of poems myself. This was in 2010, and this was the result of receiving some tour money from our great Canada Arts Council. And that tour money turned into this printed book. And this printed book is called Red Erotic. And the whole idea behind printing a book about Indigenous or my Indigenous erotica poetry was because I recognized that I did in fact have a collection of Indigenous erotica, and those pieces didn't necessarily fit into the other collections that I was then producing. And so I thought, well, why don't I just make a separate home for all of my Indigenous poetry babies where they could all live together. And yeah, it was in 2010 when I made this book. It was still very kind of like controversial or a point of discussion where, you know, I would get invited to bring the book and have it part of like some exhibitions and things, but they'd want to keep it behind glass. Or, you know, I remember this one woman from actually this territory who took great offense that I should be selling my book at the powwow in Hamilton when, you know, there was a powwow in Hamilton at the Cops Coliseum. And she, you know, she took me aside and wanted to talk to me about, you know, appropriate behavior or something. And I realized that, you know, not everyone is going to be ready to come into their own in terms of their sensuality and their sexuality because of residential school, because of damn religion and, you know, the kind of conditioning that comes along with those faiths, those, you know, religious practices. And I just wanted to create something where we are reclaiming that part of ourselves, or where that provides an opportunity for us to reclaim that part of ourselves, so we can be whole human beings again. You know, I'm not saying go out and be nasty, filthy, dirty. I'm just, you know, I'm just saying this is part of ourselves, and we can certainly reclaim it like we're reclaiming everything else in our culture. Language back, land back, joy back, knowledge back, sensuality back. That's what this book is about. And with that funding, I was also able to invite 8 different artists to contribute artwork of the same nature of Indigenous, representing Indigenous sensuality and erotica. And that was a joy to reach out into the community to see, you know, who's kind of working with this theme and this topic. And the cover is Nicholas Gallinen, and the back cover is Nicholas Gallinen. The words are all mine, and the artwork is by a variety of different Native artists. And you can actually get this book on my website, ojistopublishing.com. And so I'm just going to read for you, again, a classic that I kind of read around places when I go to read from this book. And this is called Something for the Tongue. And it's a love poem, but maybe it's not really a love poem. And it's a poem about chocolate, but maybe it's not really about chocolate either. It's called Something for the Tongue. Love chocolate, move mountains, chocolate, chocolate, question love, lessons love, chocolate, 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 broken chocolate, raw chocolate, searching, reaching, melting chocolate, brown chocolate, dark chocolate, chunky, funky love chocolate, dagwanye, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me, chocolate, hot chocolate, chocolate, bunnies, chickens, ducks, chocolate, cheeks, breasts, sticks, chocolate, rivers of chocolate, streaming chocolate, everything chocolate, 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 midnight chocolate, secret chocolate, chips, bits, fingertips chocolate, Uncle chocolate, Hodosho chocolate, love chocolate, love chocolate, love chocolate, 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 sun chocolate, moon chocolate, tattoo chocolate, tummy chocolate, lick chocolate, suck chocolate, bring me chocolate, 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 gobs of chocolate, stacks and stacks and stacks of chocolate, freedom chocolate, white, light, right, chocolate, cherries, berries, nuts, chocolate, sing, chocolate, talk, chocolate, chant, 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 chocolate, cast, chocolate, mask, chocolate, ancient from the past, chocolate, cocoa chocolate, caca chocolate, wiggly, silly, wonka chocolate, spicy chocolate, homo chocolate, skim, milk and thick chocolate, recycle chocolate, bicycle chocolate, environmentally friendly chocolate, rock chocolate, hard chocolate, great big cock chocolate, Swiss chocolate, Spanish chocolate, cross the border at night, chocolate, exotic chocolate, rich chocolate, big sugar daddy chocolate, mama chocolate, get down chocolate, pass around chocolate, 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 love chocolate, love chocolate, love chocolate, 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 eat chocolate, love chocolate, love chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. There you go. And that was an audio piece that I have on a SoundCloud page. That's, you know, as you can hear, that piece lends itself to very rhythmic, spoken, performed way of presentation. So, yeah, again, if you have work like that, feel free to bring it out to the world. It's much needed. But again, if you're not ready for it, then keep on walking. But if you're ready for it, then it's here for you. Okay, that was 2010. Now we get into 2011. So the next year, again, I had been introduced to a publisher who lived up near Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, what is now called Vancouver Island, which is more like New Channel's territory. And I thought, yeah, I've got more pieces. You know, I just keep writing, and so I reached out to this publisher who again was being introduced to me, and I said, well, what do you think? And she said, yes. So this is Leaf Press out of like I said, New Channel territory. And it's lovely to see, you know, you go after these endorsements, and it's lovely to see that Eden Robinson gave me a lovely endorsement on this book, and also Daniel David Moses, who is from Six Nations and who's now gone to Spirit. And, you know, when I moved back home in 2019, I was really looking forward to spending some time with Daniel David, you know, since we were both going to be on the territory, and we have such a love and affinity with Pauline Johnson that, you know, I was really looking forward to having some tea and, you know, chatting it up. But he had other things to do, other places to go. So anyway, he's a really, you know, renowned, and I really love him as a poet. I love his poetry. So with Leaf Press in 2011, I brought into being. It's funny how sometimes, like when I write, the pieces don't always hit a published page first. That sometimes I want to just start bringing them out into the world in these different shapes and forms, as is what's happened with this piece I'm going to share with you now. This is called "What Did You Do, Boy?" And this piece was written during the first spoken word residency I did at the Banff Center. And, you know, I don't know if anyone has been to the Banff Center, one of the residencies there, but, you know, there's magic afoot. And I believe much of that magic is spun within the collection of the Rocky Mountains where the Banff campus exists, because I sure was affected by it. It affects your sleep, it affects your dreams, and it affects your creativity. I mean, this is a piece that I really don't even think I would have ever come to write if I wasn't in that territory. As it so happens, that spoken word program no longer exists, but we did happen to create a Indigenous spoken word and storytelling residency for 3 years at the Banff Center, and now that no longer exists. Whatever logistical, administrative decisions were at play there, I'm not going to say what, but it's a shame because that was a program that really, really had a lot to offer. But anyway, this is written during one of my first residencies, the spoken word residency at the Banff Center. What did you do, boy? And if you look on the YouTube, this was my first video poem, and I was so proud about it, and I'm just really pleased. I got to collaborate. That's when I realized, oh, these poems can then be brought into a practice where you get to collaborate with musicians, with actors, with filmmakers, editors, so on and so forth. And so the title of this piece actually comes from a Chris Dirksen composition called What Did You Do, Boy? And I invited Chris Dirksen to be in my video. And Chris came out to Kamloops where we filmed it, Kamloops, BC. And Chris Bowes actually was a good friend of mine, is a good friend of mine, and he helped me to create the video poetry for What Did You Do, Boy? But here's the poem itself. Morning passes around sleep. Through the room, dreams change, surface aggressive, to meet the harsh glare of day. Soon they will discover the soft mound, and they will examine the remains. They will wonder what took place, and the dreams play it expertly again, tossing winds, plotting the escape. Midday approaches, no more hours of rest. The road waits. Under an unforgiving sun, the road waits. Its wise understanding works in tandem. What have you done? What just happened? Who was that? Chase wealth, forget yourself, discover the worst of future possibilities. Don't be late. The day tick-tocks on, breaks through dream time, redirects fate. Escape, 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 escape. Take time, fight heat, drive, man, press ahead, 0 to 90, 85 degrees, no trees for shade, press ahead, freedom drive. It didn't happen, did it? It didn't happen, did it? What if? Where are the boys now? The ones who trained and dedicated their lives to this? Where are the foot soldiers? Free. They didn't do the do. Miles pile up ahead, behind you, gas up, go, keep going, tomorrow may not happen. Morning is too many hours away. Cities, towns, farmyards away. The road opens like your lover's legs. My God, man, was there no other way? You let emotions take hold. Now look at you, running into nothing, nothing but a handful of cash for comfort. You were fooled. That money is worthless. It can't buy you tomorrow, and the dirt mound will stay silent for now. You drive. Put miles between the truth. Drive fast along a freeway, a lonely road, pushing air, pulling at thoughts, roadkill, faster, manslaughter, faster. Forgive me, Father. Faster. Forget it. Drive. Faster. What did you do, boy? What did you do? Thank you. Yeah, look it up. It's quite a little masterpiece of a video that we did. And yeah, the first time. And it was fun. So, you know, I've continued to make video poems since then for sure. I want to read you another piece from Unearthed. And that, oh, sorry, the cover is by Lee Claremont, who lives in Penticton and was teaching for many, many years painting at the Analkin Center. And Lee Claremont, her Indigenous roots are from here, Six Nations, and it was always good to see Lee Claremont around on the road and in Penticton, knowing that she's from here. And so I'm very, very proud to host her artwork on the cover of one of my books. And the artwork for Splitting the Heart is one of my pieces from way back in the day. Yeah, that's that. But this one is about traveling and having the freedom to travel. And this was a piece written in Aotearoa, in Maori territory. It's called He Tangata, Life is People. It was a term that I heard used everywhere in conversation, in speeches, in songs. He Tangata, Life is People. And it was, they really pride themselves on hosting well, which they do, and hosting the visitors. And so I wanted to give something back. And this was what I could give them back, this poem. The highs are higher here. The moon, more silver. Time takes on shape, ripe fruit ready in the orchard, crossing over, dying a shaman's death. To exist amongst men with slapped red chests, black-lipped sisters, hymnal rhythms thick as brick walls, impacts just as strong. Decorative weapons, warriors of the mind, kind kin begin again after fallen heritages and natural disasters, delivering messages to move on, fear not, move on. These beautiful people of bright song, these brown relations, these strong people of swelling pride and brave wave travelers with teams of fierce intentions stood before women on wounded, unwavering protection. These tribal people of wood and reeds, feathers and ink, mysteries and genealogy, the wind, the wind, the wind. Listen. Blood wars, love chants, walking original canvas, storytellers and prophecies grow and thrive in this era of interesting time, in this area of airborne light, in this place of honey magic medicine from the vigilant bumblebees. I love it. Together we stand under the same sun and cast new shadows over welcoming grasses. I want to trace the silhouettes and dress the naked space with words of appreciation. But there are no words, I know, in any language, written or spoken, to express the depths of emotion that this movement, that this memory of our time together can describe. Regretfully, I have nothing but these inadequate words as a way to say, He Tangata, He Tangata, He Tangata. Life is people. Now go on. Thank you very much. It was great, great memory. I really, really vibed with Aotearoa, a really beautiful spiritual hotspot of the world. It really is. While I was there, I had the opportunity to visit twice, and the second time I was there was the time when the second earthquake in Christchurch happened, and I was teaching class some poetry, and everyone's phones were blowing up, and everyone was starting to get messages about the disaster in Christchurch with the second earthquake. And of course we stopped class, and the rest of that trip was really interesting. The headlines in the papers, and because I was staying in Wellington, the papers were just screaming headlines of the disasters, and eventually I started to see Wellington is a port city, and started to see all these big freight trip ships come in carrying supplies or carrying out supplies and bringing folks in, and all the planes were getting rerouted to pick up people out of that territory into safety, and it was just really, the world's a crazy place, man. Yeah, of course, I stayed safe, so that was very fortunate. Now we move on to Peace and Duress, Talon Books. So this is a time when, Talon Books is based in Vancouver, BC. Burrard people, lots of different nations of people's original territory. Um, and they were one of the, kind of first publishers that were really making a concerted effort to be much more inclusive to publish Indigenous people, and they did so for many years, and they still continue to do so because they knew that the Indigenous literary community was blowing up and blowing up with excellent talent, not just placeholders, not just taking up spots. It was about accentuating the Indigenous excellence in the literary arts. And Talon Books recognized that early on, and to their benefit and to ours, that they were including a lot of people, new Native voices into their fold. The cover of this book is Shelley Nero. It's from her Sky Woman series of photographs and multimedia photographs. And yay, Shelley, thank you for letting me put one of your gorgeous images on the cover of this book. This is 2014, Peace and Duress, 2014. And what else do I want to say about this collection? The title of the collection came to me upon waking one day. You put it out there. When you need assistance, you put it out there to Spirit. You ask Spirit, are you able to help me? Can you help me find just the right thing? And in this case, it was the title. And when I woke up this one morning prior to the collection getting published, that phrase was in my mind. I woke up with it in my head. And it said peace and duress. And I thought about, what does that mean? That means when you're in duress, you're under duress, you're stressed out, you're in a place where you can't move left or right. But the power, how to empower yourself when you're in that scenario, is to find peace. And so this is I think it named the collection quite aptly. And I'm going to share with you this bit of writing. It's called Giving a Shit. It has to do with, so if the collection was published in 2014, the work was being developed in 2012, 2013. And if you recall, there was an event, a collective event in our history in the winter of 2012, 2013. Can you name what that event was? And if you said, I don't know more, you are correct. That was a really interesting time in our collective history because the old guard of activists, Indigenous activists, were there meeting with the new guard of Indigenous activists in the now. And to see those conversations take place online, and it was an interesting time too because it was one of the first action-based moves of resistance where things were getting played out online. The announcements of the rallies were all online. The calls to action were all online. Even the responses to our resistance were all online. So it got played out. It's documented. It's all there. So it was really, really an interesting time. And if you recall, too, that at the beginning of the I Don't Know More movement, Chief Teresa Spence had started a hunger strike. And she was on a hunger strike because she wanted to meet with, I think it was the Prime Minister at the time, which was like Stephen Harper, the yucky oatmeal man. And he, of course, didn't give her any thought, any time of day. And so that's the reason why this poem is called Giving a Shit, because they just didn't give a shit that we were resisting against these bills that were trying to get passed at the time, and, that we were mobilizing and we were uniting with non-native people too. Anyway, giving a shit. We'll give them leather and feathers, whatever gets their attention. We'll give them drums and songs to see how long they'll wait for us to turn angry. We work with unseen forces, less a weapon with fewer choices. Our answers to no more. What now? Simultaneous exhaustion and exhilaration, determination thick as mineral-rich soil negotiations. Not a mob. We are peaceful, loving people. We are the timber standing in the way, getting ready for the grave. How close to death do they want us to come? Close enough to smell what it smells like. We have the answers and we're showing you, holding them up for your glowing hearts to see. Have you nothing to say? The women in their jingles, the fellas in their jackets, the elders in their blankets, and the children waving signs. No more, no more, no more. Flags flowing like winter snows, hands joining in a blizzard of solidarity. I see my people, many shades of the same. We are the responsible, incorrigible. Bravery in our veins, fed by hunger in our souls, writing love letters in the snow and messages of SOS. We are revisiting wampum. We are witnessing commitment, not legislated by war or defense budgets. This is the people's love for the mother. The movement has just begun. Bring it in, send it out, walk it around, sing it out loud. Keep it breathing, beating, resist the hate. Keep praying. We are armies of good minds. Ancestor allies walk with us. Blissful ignorance sounds like holiday songs on a Saturday morning, the same day she is starving for her people, starving for attention, when the answers are within and up front. Protect, react, resist. Protect, react, resist. Protect, react, resist. So what now? I'm going to fuck with your money. I'm going to talk to your children. Tell them the truth and influence their reality. It's not possible to love a country and not love its laws when the law says a country is formed by a council and registered like a baby's birth certificate, when the courts, the same racist place that makes the laws. So what came first? Is the UN knocking at your door, or the ghosts of those who circled your abode? Are you finished dreaming of bacon? Are you begging for protection, shaking under a blanket, hiding from your own ancestors, saying, "Don't shame us"? Crossing the line, getting close, closing the gap, moving in, finding the light, standing in it, making the sounds, painting in color, getting it right, taking names, planning for the future, reclaim. Release the medicine, pound the drums, stay connected, step forward, rooted in humility and humanity, giving a shit. Reproducing history, recognizing equals, slam dancing, gathering, letting the answers find us. Saying your piece, providing, helping the case, craving, stealing home, forcing the point, attending to details, walking together forward. Thank you. Peace and dress. 2014. Okay. Totem poles and railroads. 2016. Now we move on to 2016. Sonny Asu. He did a little collection of works with Emily Carr images, of course, enhancing those pieces with color and his very own authentic kwakwakiwak lines and forms and shapes, ovids and things like that, split U's, all that stuff. I love the cover. I love this little jewel of a book that ARP has produced, Arbiter Ring Publishing in Winnipeg. This collection was written during a residency at the University of Northern BC in what they call Prince George, British Columbia, which is Clé-Clé-Dene territory. And the title, Totem Poles and Railroads, is in reference to a time when I noticed I was traveling a lot around BC in the northern BC, and noticing that the intersection of the totem pole and the railroad was really, really representative of the colonial interference and the introduction of colonialism on that territory. So I'm going to read for you the title piece of this collection, Totem Poles and Railroads. And this is, of course, traveling along Highway 16, otherwise known as the Highway of Tears, where a lot of Indigenous sisters have gone missing. And to my knowledge and my belief that the perpetrator of those murders and missing women has not yet been found and or convicted of those crimes. Early foggy, cups of coffee, 6 miles of slippery, frost hugging everything, nothing escapes Raven's gaze. No need to speed, sharp focus, both comfort and mysterious. Missing faces smiling from weather-worn, big, wide billboards, counting days to months to years. Open season for truckers and policemen. Wouldn't you want to clear yourself of suspicion? Inhabitants eat well here until the kindness of stranger neighbors dries up like ice after November. Presence and economics played like lazy hands of poker, not in our favor. Numbers don't lie, paranoia is colonial, arriving on foreign shores of deceit, landing on honest shores of indigenous innocence. My eyes, rapid scan bears, women. Red-stained shoulders, Raven's pecking order in the rearview mirror. Each territory has a center and a signal to follow suit. Change reverberates, heritage stagnates, politics holds roadblocks to progress. Resolution, perpetuation, penetrations. Altered consciousness evolved, best we stay awake, authentically burgeoning, fresh reality crossing potholes and holy practices, deep hibernation. This is the winter of our discounts. Tobacco placed another season, buried snow and time. Evidence can provide remembering, releasing, beginning healing, hunting down, haunting, a harvest of honest, traumatic brutality, sickness reflecting, flesh ripping steel vehicles, extractions, extractions, extractions. Low cloud cover, 30 more days. Skid marks and hitchhikers, swerving, listening for voices, nothing. None of this is ours. Propaganda is the first tool. Totem poles and railroads. Canada Post, diesel and drugs. Uncomfortable with discomfort. Everything is human error pointing towards police. Cop cars passing opposite directions. I look to them like I know something, like they know something, and not saying we are not sure what's been saved or deleted. And there she is. Heated cheeks, slack jacket slung from half a mile back, body language exhausted, walking south. I want my finger in her face, shake and say, don't you dare, just don't do it. The precipitous of heaven-high mountains, stately Carolina angels, singing raw and rich notes, filling souls with authentic sermons, uplifts this heavy energy. Hearts beating slower still, inspired proclamations of beauty, will know now, and round dance all the possibilities. Museums and tractor sculptures, monuments of extraction culture, not the threat of natural distractions, but the other guy, breaking at 80, forcing urgency to all things, caution. Clearing the passenger side. Everything has shifted, new conversations and concerns, not my territory. I can't ask the ancestors for anything. Directions change from east to northfield. Gut rocks dissolve a happier road. Indian road, I know this road. Paved for commerce's commodity, with little return. Backwards running river, no more road. I won't stop, not for cops. I am not next. 8 lovely degrees at the end of October. Birch bark stark white, furs are furrier, eyes peeled, more giving thanks, totem poles and railroads, mountain houses, names of princes, borrowed, bored, cancer spots, small town slum, and I would not insult them to call them ghosts. They are here. Voiceless moons reflecting heat, travel companions reaching destinations at last. Done with victim rhetoric, scientists of our own circumstances, architects of resistance, facts flooding highways, mudslides, and construction zones. Slow, stop, go. Okay, everyone, that takes me to the end of our time together. Thanks for taking this kind of literary, poetic journey with me through the books that I have produced over the years throughout my career. And again, my name is January Rogers, and I'm a poet. I'm also working in script writing and playwriting now. It's been a pleasure to present to you, and I hope you have a good rest of the fall season on it into winter season coming up real soon. Everyone take care. Love you, and all the best from 6 nations of the Grand Territory. Nyawagoa. Bye for now.